As the creature lunged, she swung wildly. The stone struck its snout 3.2 million years ago in the ancient lands of Hadar, where the earth split and steamed beneath a restless African sun. The world was younger, harsher, and more alive than any time we can imagine. The wind carried dust, and the cries of creatures long vanished. The ancestors of us all still learning to walk the balance between fear and courage, survival and extinction. Among them, a small band of Australopithecus afarensis, our distant kin, gathered around the carcass of a fallen antelope. They had hunted with stones, shouted in triumph, and now feasted in the dim gold of the dry season afternoon. From the canopy above, the world was quiet, too quiet. One of the males, perched high upon a weathered fig tree, squinted into the distance. Beyond the heat haze, 2 miles away, a shadow moved through the tall grass, deliberate, muscular, and deadly. A saber-toothed cat, Megantereon, with fangs like curved daggers glinting in the light, prowled low against the wind. Its amber eyes locked onto the scent of blood and flesh. The sentinel froze. A tremor of instinct rippled through his spine. Then, with a shrill alarm call, half scream, half bark, he leapt down, landing awkwardly but running with desperate purpose toward his kin. The clan looked up, puzzled, until they saw the panic written across his face. The next moments blurred into chaos. Alarm cries split the air as the group scattered, some clambering up rocks, others vanishing into the shrubs. The ground vibrated with pounding feet. The saber-tooth had seen them. It broke into a silent sprint, gliding low, shoulders rolling like waves of muscle under golden fur. Among the frightened group was a young female, smaller, wiry and curious by nature, known to her clan by soft clicks and whistles. To us, she would later be known as Lucy. In that ancient moment, she was just another frightened creature running for her life. She darted through the underbrush, lungs burning, her bare feet slipping on loose gravel. The air was hot and sharp with dust. Behind her came the rhythmic thud of the predator, closer, closer, its breath heavy and hot. Lucy veered off the familiar trail, pushing through a stand of thorny acacia trees that tore at her skin. Her instincts screamed to climb, but the trees were too sparse, their branches brittle and thin. She ran harder, past a cluster of rocks that shimmered in the fading sun, until her foot found nothing but air. The world turned upside down. She fell, tumbling through darkness, stones and dust raining around her, and landed hard in a hollow space below. The echo of her fall traveled deep into the earth. For a moment, she could not breathe. Only the muffled rumble of the predator's growl above reached her ears. She was trapped. Lucy lay in the gloom of an ancient cave, a volcanic tube carved long before her birth, its walls glistening with moisture and shadows. The entrance above was too narrow to climb, the light too faint to promise escape. Outside, the saber-tooth prowled and snarled, its echo bouncing through the rock like thunder in a tomb. Night came early inside the cave. The light died quickly, swallowed by the blackness that seemed alive, breathing in slow, cold drafts. Lucy huddled against the stone, trembling. For the first time in her short life, she was alone, no clan, no alarm calls, no familiar touch of her kind. She did not sleep that first night. Every sound, the drip of water, the rustle of unseen wings, the hiss of slithering things, struck like lightning through her nerves. Her nostrils flared to the scent of damp soil and the musk of hidden animals. Something crawled near her, small, fast. She struck it with a stone out of instinct. The echoes never stopped. When the pale dawn filtered faintly through the cracks above, she began to move. The cave stretched deep, winding like the gut of the earth. Her kind were explorers by nature, curious, observant and cautious. Every few steps, she paused, sniffed the air and listened. She had no words, no language to describe her fear, yet her heart beat with the same rhythm that would one day beat in ours, the will to survive. The deeper she went, the more the cave revealed, colonies of bats shrieking overhead, their wings stirring the air into a storm of dust, scorpions hiding beneath stones. And in one vast chamber, the roots of ancient trees breaking through the ceiling like fingers of another world. Ferns and moss glowed faintly in the gloom, lit by unseen fissures from above. The place felt alive, a secret world beneath the world, untouched by the sun. By the second day, hunger gnawed at her belly. She licked moisture from the cave walls and picked beetles from under rocks. Once she found the bones of a smaller creature, perhaps one of her own, gnawed clean and brittle. Fear mixed with sorrow. Her clan had always shared food and warmth. Now she had only shadows. At times she thought she heard voices, the distant calls of her kin, or perhaps the wind funneling through the tunnels. Once she even thought she heard laughter, faint and echoing, a trick of her desperate mind. Yet she pressed on. At the mouth of another passage she froze. A pair of eyes glowed in the dark, green, unblinking. A hyena, drawn by the same scent of fear and death. It crept closer, claws scraping stone. Lucy backed away, heart pounding. Her hand found a sharp rock, volcanic glass, smooth and cold. As the creature lunged, she swung wildly. The stone struck its snout, and the hyena recoiled with a snarl, retreating into the shadows. The echoes of its retreat mingled with the beating of her heart. Hours passed into another night. Above ground, her clan searched, sniffing the air, calling out in mournful tones. They gathered at the cave mouth where her scent vanished, their small faces filled with confusion and grief. They did not know if she lived or had been taken. Inside, Lucy sat by a faint beam of light piercing through a crack in the ceiling. Dust particles danced in the beam like stars in a miniature sky. She reached toward it, her fingers trembling as though she could touch the world she'd lost. The light became her companion, her hope, her silent promise. On the third day, the cave shifted. Somewhere in the distance, a tremor shook the ground, perhaps a minor quake, or the settling of the Rift Valley floor. A stone dislodged from the ceiling, revealing a faint draft of air and a soft glow from above. Lucy looked up. Her instincts stirred again. She began to climb, gripping roots and ledges, her muscles screaming with fatigue. Each slip sent gravel cascading into the dark below. But she climbed because something in her refused to die underground. At last, her fingers broke through into sunlight. The air outside was hot, blinding. She pulled herself up, gasping, blinking against the brilliance of day. Before her stretched the savannah, endless, golden, alive. For a long moment, she stood at the mouth of the earth, trembling, unsure if she was awake or still dreaming. Then came the sound, the distant, familiar call of her kind. She turned, scanning the ridges until she saw them, her clan, gathered under the shade of an acacia tree, calling out, uncertain but hopeful. Lucy cried out in return, a raw, primal sound that echoed across the valley. They heard her. They ran toward her, arms outstretched, voices rising in chorus. The reunion was wild and tender. They touched her, groomed her, inspected her with relief and wonder. She was bruised, scratched, but alive. The saber-tooth had long moved on. That evening, as the sun sank low and painted the rocks in blood and gold, the clan rested together again. Lucy sat among them, gazing at the horizon, the world vast and shimmering before her. Somewhere deep inside, the memory of the cave would stay, the echoing dark, the eyes in the night, the thin line of light that had led her back to life. She could not know it then, but her bones, the same bones that would one day be found in Hadar, would tell her story to a species yet unborn. A story not just of fear or chance, but of the unbroken thread that ties us to the dawn of consciousness. 3.2 million years ago, Lucy fell into the earth, and in climbing out, she left us a message written in stone. That even in the darkest depths, the spark that would become humanity never stopped reaching for the light.